Station is
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live from KSCO Radio. I don't know if you wake up some mornings and you feel like you've been tied to the whipping post, but you know, it happens to the best of us. And if you feel that that's happening with you in parts of your life right now, you know, there's hope, because what you think about, you talk about, and what you talk about, you bring about. So, you know, one thing I've come to know about myself is many times I wake up or sometime through the day, something occurs that isn't an ideal situation for me. I look at that, and, you know, in the past, that has got me down a lot. And other times I was able to overcome it more quickly. But, you know, I think if you just kind of, for me, what I do is I just go, what can I do to make this go right? And, you know, sometimes we need to figure out how to make things go right in our life. And that's really kind of what the show is about today. What you can do, what kind of things that you might be able to pull out of your hat to help others or yourself when things just don't seem to be going your way. And I think one of the main things is to realize that it's so important for you to set goals. And by setting a goal, whether you have this on your refrigerator or on the mirror in the morning where you're getting ready, and you can see what it is that your goal is or what your intention is for that day. And we really need to be able to put that intention out and remember it, recall it a lot. Because the more we recall our intention, the mind is a perfect machine, and it's basically designed to pose and solve problems. So you give it a problem, it will solve it. And so I recommend that you give it good problems that you would like to see the result of. For those of us that worry a lot and maybe rightly so, there's things that are not going right. People, friends of yours are having a hard time. The world's having a hard time. Various things like this. But, you know, the true test of anybody is their ability to persevere and make it go right. So I think that that's one thing about being in the alternative healthcare field, or probably like the real natural healthcare field, is that we're putting things into place to let the body heal. The body knows what to do. It doesn't need any interference. It doesn't need any help. It just needs no interference. As Dr. Reggie Gold always used to say, there are 3 types of interference. There's mental, physical, and chemical interference that can affect your body. And you know, what are we doing on this planet? Why are we here? We're pursuing something. And you know, I recommend that you figure it out what it is you want to pursue, so you aren't the pursued. And if you don't have goals, you know, that things are going to come up and bite you. So one thing I like to do is write down my gratitudes. There was an exercise book that I used to have. I still have it laying around somewhere, but I would give it to my staff and family. And every morning you would write down 10 things that you're grateful for, you know, and then 10 goals and 10 concepts that you can live by. And then you would also write down how your day went yesterday and how you perceive your day to go today. And, you know, if you decide to do this, think big, because again, the mind is a perfect machine that poses and solves problems. So you want to give it the problems of comparable magnitude to the greatness that is in you. We have the greatest physician who ever lived lives right inside of us. It's your innate intelligence and the same innate wisdom that can create anything that you can imagine. You're exactly where you are today based on decisions that you made, circumstances that you got yourself in or were put in. And, at this point, it's really up to the individual to decide what circumstances they want to be in. So don't put yourself in those circumstances anymore. If you are, then look for a sane solution to them. I was listening to the Ron Carson show. I think it was him talking about, and I may have the programming wrong, but he's talking about, when you have debt, maybe it was a different show on KSCO, but when you're in debt or when you have these situations, there's always a way to get out of it. There's methodical ways that you can do things in order to lessen that load and that burden, financial burden on yourself. Well, the health burden is even a greater thing to undertake, because stress, whether it's financial, environment, family, work, disease, is all going to create this substance in your body called cortisol. It's a stress hormone. It's going to turn on what's called the fight or flight mechanism, the sympathetic nervous system. And when this is on, you don't think correctly. You think for immediate survival, like jump out of the way of the train or something along that line. But clearly we know without a shadow of a doubt, when your sympathetic nervous system kicks into gear, the parasympathetic turns down. That's the automatic heart monitoring system, the immune system, your digestive system slows down when you're running from a tiger, because you don't need to worry about digesting the food. The tiger will digest it for you. Your immune system shuts down. You don't have to worry about an infected finger with a splinter in it. The tiger will take care of it for you. So the body is pretty smart. It shunts all energy over to the fight or flight mechanism. Just like on Star Trek back in the day, they put all of the power to the forward force field so that the Klingons' power rays wouldn't blow the ship up. But they had to put everything down on life support system. And that's how your body's life support system works. It's going to rise to the emergency and at the expense of the other functions of the body. And the way our nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system set up, is that brief moment of running from the tiger lasts for, a few minutes. Either you get away or you get eaten. But let's say you get away, then that calms down and you go back to a nice harmony in your body. Your organs start to work, digestive function better, immune system starts to work better. But the one other thing to be aware of is that the brain starts to work better. Your brain in the fight or flight mechanism is like a scared animal. It's running as fast as it can, and it won't make the best decisions. It will for immediate survival. If you come to a cliff or a tree and you're being chased by the tiger, well, I don't know which one you would choose. Neither one sounds very good, so probably a bad idea. But at any rate, it's so important that we take a look at where we are today. Okay, this whole last 3 years has been so big on the sympathetic nervous system. So many patients have have chronic disease turn on and progress so rapidly. Tom Quinn, who was just on, of course, right before me, and I really appreciate following his show, asked me on his way out today how many patients I've seen that have had adverse effects from the events and procedures of the last 3 years, to speak in tongue. And it's amazing the amount of people that have been affected with different kind of advanced diseases, even morbidities, and it's scary. But I got to tell you, right now we are on the other end of it, and you're on the other end of your life. So whatever happened yesterday that you felt like you were tied to the whipping post is done, and you're now looking at a bright future. So make it a bright future. Write down one thing that you would like to achieve in the next week to a month. Maybe it's like you'd want to put $100 away or $1,000 away. Maybe it's you'd like to buy a gift for one of your family members to help them with their burden. Maybe you just like to spend some time with somebody. We are so busy from can see to can't see, as Louis L'Amour used to say, from sunrise to sunset, that we don't often have time to really consider what might be some really fun goals for us, or some things where we'd be able to help other people or share with other people or visit other people. But sometimes I know I get up in the morning, I'm running all day long, and then I get home at night, I eat, and then go to bed because I don't have time to do everything I want to get done. So it's important to know, write down a list of things that you're interested in, and then number them 1 to 10, 1 being the most important, and then all the way up to 10, what you'd like to get done or not, because if you don't write them down, you're not going to make it happen. So I know it's very, very difficult when your health is failing, if you're in pain. It's very, very difficult for you to put your eyes on other areas. So I think, when you're happy and healthy and life's going your way, you wake up in the morning and you might have 100 things that you want to do. You have 100 goals. Your mind's continually trying to create positive effects. But when you're sick or hurt, there's only one predominant thought, and that's, how do I get out of pain? How do I fix this condition I'm in? So there is something that you can do about that. If you live locally and you have a physical health condition, there's a very good likelihood that our office could help you, or other chiropractors or acupuncturists in the area. If you haven't gone to one, I recommend that you consider it. There's only 7 or 8% of the population have ever visited a chiropractor. That sounds crazy to me, and probably to you as well. You think, how could that be? That we hear about chiropractic all the time. You just kind of assume everybody goes but you. Well, it's time to take a look at what's going on with the health in our country, and go find somebody who can help you naturally. And that's what we do. McCollum Family Chiropractic in Capitola. I'd be more than happy to see you. I want to talk about a couple patients, and then we'll play a success story from one of them. But I know that I've told you about Karen, who we'll hear from in a minute, who came in with several surgeries, metal in her low back. They put stimulators in her spine to try to calm down the painful nerves. And, so we've had some amazing success with her, and you'll hear it. But the other day, somebody else came in with a very, very similar problem. It's called arachnoiditis, chronic arachnoiditis. The arachnoid is spider. It is one of the linings of the central nervous canal. So down the center of your spine, you have a little sac that's filled with cerebrospinal fluid, and in that sac dangles your central nervous system that comes out of your brain. Then that divides and exits at every 2 bones in the body. 31 spinal nerves come out of there. When you have damage, specifically surgical damage, and apparently one of the effects is this thing called chronic arachnoiditis, which is the spider web gets scar tissue in it and chokes and strangles the nerves and causes pain. Well, another lady came in with x-rays, actually not worse than the first. And we've been working on her for a couple of visits now, and the immediate change that her son noticed of her walking down the hall in the office was pretty neat. And so there's hope no matter where you are. And if it doesn't look like we can help you, we'll try to send you to somebody who can. But we're going to hear a commercial from Karen here, and then I'll be back in just a couple seconds. Thank you. A few different surgeries in your back.
Yeah, at least 6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, and you have steel putting the last 3 vertebrae together, and steel in your neck.
Yes.
And you were still in pain after that.
Yes.
So they implanted in your spine stimulation.
Spinal cord stimulator, yeah.
And did that help you?
No, it made everything so much worse.
Yeah.
And then they revised that twice and added more paddles and stitched it all in. It continued to get worse. All trying to resolve the problem that they caused by putting it in, which was a diaphragm cramp.
Yeah.
That never went away.
Yeah.
It started the day I woke up from the permanent implant, and it ended last week. Can you take care of me? Like, was it last week?
That's amazing.
How
long was that? How many?
3 years.
3 years.
Almost to the day now, March is when it started.
Because I remember you walking in, you just were bent over.
Yeah, because I couldn't breathe. Every time I take a breath, I cramp. So I was like this.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to stand and breathe. And
the next week you came in and said, well, now my low back is so painful. This is better. Can we do anything for your low back? So we said, well, let's try that. So what happened there?
I just want to back up just a little bit. The spinal cord stimulator was implanted because I was having severe pelvic and sciatic nerve pain on both sides, all the way to my feet.
Wow.
All the time. I couldn't sit more than 10 to 15 minutes. I couldn't sleep more than 20 minutes. So I was willing to do that spinal cord stimulator. So that's an important piece. But last week, you put the TRT. And the pain stops, and it's all but gone. I watched the 49er game for an hour in a row in a chair.
Wow.
I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
And I was able to walk on the beach. It's really changing everything. Yeah, those are God bumps.
Yeah.
And I have them too.
Yeah.
Because I know it's a miracle. I know, and I always knew the problem came from the surgeries because it started when we started surgeries.
Yeah.
I was a severely frequent urinator, like 20 to 30 minutes, just like getting up out of a chair, and it's so much better.
Yeah.
It's hours, and I'm urinating 6 as many times.
Wow. And we talked about the nerve that come out of your low back where all that metal is.
And that makes sense.
Goes to the bladder, and those nerves, since we're in here, are the nerves that come out of your low back where your surgeries were, and those nerves go to the bladder. By taking pressure off those nerves, your bladder's working better.
I know. It's like real. Yeah. And see that you could not have done that 2 weeks ago. I would have screamed.
Wow. Okay, well, that's a pretty amazing story from my patient Karen, and our whole staff cries when these type of things happen, and they happen very frequently. And it's pretty amazing. I can't say that it will help everybody out there, but it's worth a try. And if I can help one person a week feel like they have their life back, then I'm doing my purpose in life. My purpose is to help people, and fortunately we're getting a lot more than one a week, usually one a day. And so you could do that. You might know somebody who needs to try the soft wave machine that we have. When I got mine, there were 200 in the country. They come from Germany. Now there's 600 in the country, but very few in California yet. And we just happen to have one. I was the first one in California to get one, in fact, in private practice. So they're using it with a lot of the football teams, and pro teams use it. Even Kevin Durant had it on his ankle when he had when he ruptured his Achilles tendon. So, it's going to get it's going to catch on eventually. They use it in Austria, and I think every spinal trauma center has them in there. I got it because my arm, I couldn't lift my arm at all, my right arm. I'd heard it so many times since fourth grade. Started by throwing a ball, and then, it would get to ache so much that I couldn't even lift it off the side of my body. And then it would heal, and then it would injure it again, and then heal, and then injure it again. And it got this last time, which was back in 2019. It was so bad for probably 6 weeks I couldn't lift it. I'd gone to had different type of treatments. I luckily had another chiropractor working with me, and so he could do the lion's share of everything while I was getting well. And then a friend of mine's son jumped off a 60-foot cliff and missed the water, shattered both ankles and 3 vertebrae in his back, his thoracic spine. And they were going to have to put a steel cage around his spine. But Dr. Dan Papa and his son Daniel found out about this machine by my friend, Dr. Matt Diderot, who've had on the show 3 times already. And they were able to help him with natural healing with the help of the stem cell machine, the soft wave machine that we have, and other natural remedies that we use in Health Centers of the Future, which is the Dr. Papa group I've been in for 5 years. And I had Dr. Mindy Pels on here, who's part of that group, Dr. Arben Azadi, who you might know is Keto Camp. We're all in the same group, and we share a lot of the same interests, knowledge, and end up traveling around the country and world together to do studies. And it's really fun. But regardless, I'm getting off the point. The point is that if you want to change something in your life, don't give up. If you feel like you're treading water and nothing's working, you're not getting anywhere, then think of Albert Einstein, what he said: if you continue to do the same thing and expect different results, then you might be a little bit missing some marbles or a couple pieces of bread in the loaf, or however you want to talk about it. So, it's really important to keep searching and try things and find some that people have done that if you can, and then that way you can have a better chance of making a difference health-wise for you. The lady that we just listened to, Karen, and Amy, the other gal, I think they are going to both be live on the show with me in a couple weeks. I talked to them both. They actually are getting together and sharing their story about this chronic arachnoiditis that is a diagnosis, explaining what happens to the spine when it doesn't heal correctly after surgery. And that's predominantly how I believe this condition comes about. But we've had success with it. And I know other doctors around the country with this soft wave machine, the Ortho Gold that we have had success with it, and many other things. So it's just sound, unbelievable. Sound comes through 3,358 miles an hour out of a wand head, and it penetrates healthy tissue and nothing, you don't feel a thing. When you find damaged tissue, or when the machine finds damaged tissue, you feel it, and you can tell that it's doing something. And more often than not, we have immediate results to some degree. You heard Karen, it was like remarkable results for her right off the bat. With Amy, sometimes it seems like the worse the condition, the better, the quicker the quick results. But regardless, there is no magic bullet out there. So it is important to have this thing done enough times to get the stem cells. It's causing your own stem cells that are lying dormant in your body to be beckoned to the area that the machine is being used on. And then those stem cells go in there and those stem cells go in there and start to heal that particular joint or that tissue that is damaged. So at any rate, I think that it's really important to take a look at what your goals are, write them down, especially your health goals, and then figure out what to do about them. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that 80% of all of the bankruptcies in this country are medically driven bankruptcies. So 80% of the people that go bankrupt do so because of a medical condition in their life. Out of those 80%, 80% of them have health insurance, but that health insurance is not enough to handle the catastrophic condition that people come down with. And 50% of those people that have insurance are college educated. So just because you have, insurance or college education or, try to be as healthy as you can, doesn't mean that you're immune to this ailing health. And as BJ Palmer says, who's the basically father of chiropractic, it's easier to keep a body well than it is to fix one that's sick. So don't wait till it's sick. You want to always stay on top of things and get your body well now. I think what I'm going to do is jump to another commercial break here with Lauren and John. Lauren is a realtor in town. She's had some amazing results with the stem cell machine and does it on an ongoing basis, as well as John, who's a pastor in a local community, and he's had some great results too. So we'll be back in just a sec. Thank you.
This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I would like you to listen to a couple testimonials from my patients about our new TRT machine. You should come try it, but here's what they have to say.
Hi, I'm Lauren Spencer, a local realtor. Lately, I've had trouble with my feet, and I'm an avid walker, avid biker, avid golfer, and my feet were aching all the time. And I tried Duncan's TRT machine, which is an amazing stem cell machine that rejuvenates the cells. And my feet, I've had like 3 or 4 sessions with the machine, and my feet are like new, no aches, no pains. It's a miracle.
Originally, I heard about it on the radio, and I was a little apprehensive, but I came in and got the treatment, and miraculously, immediately I got relief. And we're talking about 3 years of 24/7 neuropathy, all kinds of pain, medical doctors, and in one treatment, it changed my life. It gave my life back because I was able to function and do things and not be in excruciating pain and get some sleep. And I'm going to continue to come back, and I highly recommend it to anyone.
So call today for your $49 introductory special on the TRT machine to see if it works for you. Call 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990. McCollum Family Chiropractic.
Okay, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum back, talking about what you can do to keep your body as healthy as possible. And I really enjoy everybody who jumps on Facebook saying hi. Somebody's asking a question about the David Wolf video that I put on the on my Facebook. I think it's on my YouTube channel. Dr. Duncan McCollum. David Avocado Wolf is an amazing health petition. That's a word. He's got a big farm in Hawaii and one on the main continent. He's got some of the most amazing supplements and coca trees growing on there. And, he's a great guy. I'm going to have him on the show again. I reached out to him and he asked, or he said that he would love to come on my show again. So we'll have David on probably within the next month. Anyway, today we're talking about setting goals, and especially if you wake up tied to the whipping post, like some of us feel sometimes. This is the Allman Brothers song I was just playing. And, it's a decision. It can be a decision away to change the way you allow your environment to affect you. I think that if you take a look at what the brain does, the brain really poses and solves problems. So if you take a look at a situation and your problem is or your thought process is, okay, this is really affecting me. I'm messed up from this, and I'm going to hide from it or run from it. You'll never get on the upper side of it. If you look at it and go, okay, there's got to be a way around this. So I'm going to need to figure out how to put myself in a situation where I can command this problem. And the cool thing about the brain's ability to pose and solve problems is you need to give it some good problems to solve. So there's another saying that says, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person, because you give it to somebody who's like lollygagging around, you think they have all their times on their hand, they're not going to get it done. So I'm sure you've been to a really busy restaurant, just bustling and bustling and bustling, and the service is great. You go to the same restaurant on a slow day and you go, what the heck? Nobody's serving. So it's kind of an amazing phenomenon that, you know, that you want to keep yourself busy with the right problems to solve. So that's my message to you. Start to write down what it is you'd like to see happen in the next week to 30 days, and maybe even for this year if you haven't done that yet. Where would you like to be? There's a book that I recommend. It's called One Word, just O-N-E, Word. Don't remember the author's name, but it's a very short book, and it walks you through this process of figuring out your word for the year. And you start reading the book and you go, I already know what my word is. And they warn, no, you don't. Don't even think you do yet. Get through the book. And then by the last chapter, the word does come to you. And it's pretty amazing. I chose mine this year. And I'm just keeping that to myself because I think it's more powerful for me to have my own venue there. But you know, it's a good thing to do. Set new goals and take a look at where your life is today. Get a piece of paper and put a line down the middle on the left side, write today, and then on the right side, write it 2024 or whatever your process is. Talk about your physical health. Just write down, grade it, even if you need to. How do you grade your physical health, your weight, your digestion, your respiration, your heart, blood pressure? What kind of medications are you on? Did I already mention digestion? Energy levels. And then, how's my relationship with my family, my children, people I work with? How are my possessions? Do I have my possessions in good order? You know, my vehicle, does it run? Or my vehicles, which one does run? You know, and it's just kind of a good exercise too. Right now, it's still not too late in the year to set your goals for the year. And I know that I'm constantly kind of renewing mine. Sometimes I get a little complacent, and then I wake up and smell the coffee, as to say, and go, okay, I've got to start to work on this area of my life a little more. So it can be very helpful to be aware of those circumstances. So another thing that I think is important is to really look at your relationships with your family. Maybe there's somebody that you've had a misgiving with along the way, and you kind of left them by the wayside, or they did you, and it's hurtful. And you know, it's so easy to write a simple postcard or a little letter that says, hey, I was thinking about you, hope all's good. And you don't even have to say, give me a call yet. You just write that you were thinking of them. And it's amazing how far reaching a small act of kindness can go. I was just thinking about, I had missed an opportunity a while back, and I felt bad about it because it was something that had I been paying a little more attention, I would have been able to do something about it. But I was standing in line at one of my favorite health food grocery stores here, and I was 2 carts back from this elder gentleman that was in line ahead of me. And I'd had a busy day, and you know, all the yada 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 stuff was going on. but I saw that there was a commotion going on up there. And, then I saw everything come out of his cart, and then he was looking angry. And my thought was, what's wrong with this guy, right? And then he left, and the next person got served. When I walked up to the teller, I asked her, is everything okay with that gentleman? And she said, well, his ED card or whatever it is that you get, I guess food stamps or food on, didn't have enough money on it to cover his groceries. And I went, dang, I wish I would have seen that or known it, because I would have just covered it for him, because at that moment I could. And I kicked myself for not being more aware. But, it wouldn't have been any skin off of my back at that particular moment in time to help this gentleman. So right now, I was at a seminar a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about how angry everybody is these days. The road rage, and people have so little patience for other people, not only people they don't know, but people they do know. And I think it's bred out of the frustration of the last several years with the political atmosphere and all of the other health stuff that was going on. People have gotten so fed up with all of the emotion involved with it that they lash out in anger. So rather than being kind to the person walking down the street or driving in front of you, the result is more of an angry response. In fact, the person who was giving the seminar had done some research on the internet, and I wish I would have paid a little more attention to where he did, but he said that the anger level had gone up several percentage in our society. It's kind of a sad thing, because I feel it sometimes myself, and I realize that all you need is love is what the Beatles song is, right? So it's so important that we just look around, see who's out there, who needs some help, who needs to have a little attention. One thing that's been kind of a curse and a blessing recently for me is, and it has happened throughout my 33 years in practice where I've injured myself. Here it is. It's so hard as a healthcare professional to be injured. You're supposed to be the pillar of everything. Well, I broke my back when I was 12, and that's what got me into chiropractic, because that's the only person that could get me out of pain, besides the drugs that mother gave me, and then the rest of the ones that were prescribed by the Jefferson Airplane and the White Rabbit. For some reason, those prescription drugs were a lot better than the one my parents would give me. But I just had to go ask Alice and I figure out what I needed to take. But I think, when you take a look at our health in this country right now, we're rated 47th in the world for health. We're the sickest of the industrialized nations. We're the most obese of all of the industrialized nations. 60% of us have diabetes or pre-diabetic. Thyroid medication is one of the top sellers right now. 30% of the population have been diagnosed with some kind of thyroid disease. And these statistics aren't getting any better, yet we're spending more and more money on medication every year, $4.3 trillion on healthcare in 2021, 4.3 trillion in the United States. I don't even know what that is divided by 360 million people, but it's a lot, because a lot of people aren't taking any. And even when you look at what Einstein said, about doing the same thing and expecting a different result, that's kind of the health model that was put together. And I spoke about this in the Rockefeller Foundation back in 1910, when they started realizing that you could make a lot of money off of drugs made out of oil, sulfa drugs. So they started a campaign to wipe out all of the natural health colleges in the country. I think there were 180 homeopathic colleges before then. And with the Fletcher report, they were able to close most of them down. because it was a standard of care that they were relating out there, that if the powers that be or the schools weren't teaching to that standard of care, then it was quackery or whatever they called it. I don't know, snake oil. But, you know, Einstein says if you do the same thing and expect a different result, you're crazy, right? So if you have something like type 2 diabetes, which the National Institute of Health said is reversible back in 1996, they came out with that. Type 2 diabetes is reversible with diet and exercise alone, but you keep taking a pill that doesn't cure you and doesn't kill you. That sounds kind of like Einstein's theory to me. It's not getting you well, but you got to keep taking it, and then it will cause other kind of conditions, especially relating to dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and other dementias from a lot of the medications that we're taking. Even things like Rolaids or Tums is now being tied to dementia. So this is something that we just are so used to putting into our gullet anytime we think that we're sick, you know, or we have a stomach ache. You put Tums in there. Well, what's that doing? It's buffering the stomach wall. What's wrong with the stomach wall? Either too much acid or not enough acid. Usually, believe it or not, it's not enough acid. And so you're eating the food and you don't have enough hydrochloric acid being produced by the cells in your stomach, and it will cause undigested food to be in that too long, and that can damage the cell wall. And also, because you don't have enough hydrochloric acid in your stomach, it will allow bad things to grow in there, bacteria that shouldn't be in there, viruses, and other type of critters that will be in your digestive system. But yet we're, you know, been sold these pills that we take that are supposed to help with, you know, this digestive disorder or heartburn or GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disorder. I mean, they come up with these names. I was, what's GERD? How come they're calling it now GERD? Oh, it's gastro, stomach, esophageal, the food goes down, reflux, the food wants to come back up. So you have a disorder with keeping the food down. And with that comes the acid that's in your stomach and or other digestive enzymes that can get up into your throat, cause damage, and it can affect even the little shut-off valve. It's called the sphincter, and then it becomes more and more chronic. So my point is, if you're taking the same thing for something like heartburn for, you know, a long extended period of time, then you're kind of in this Einstein mode again. There's got to be something else that you should do, because if you leave that too long, it will cause other disorders. For instance, when you change the pH inside your stomach, and that goes in the next 12 inches, is called the duodenum. That's the small intestine, the first part of the small intestine. That's where calcium is absorbed out of your diet into the first 12 inches of your small intestine or duodenum. And it has to be under an acidic environment in order for the chemical exchange to occur, so that the calcium can get into your bloodstream through the walls and the channels that are open for calcium and other minerals to get out of your digestive tract into your body. So when you're chronically eating substances that change or calm down the stomach acid, then you're going to upset the small intestine. And also, when you don't have enough acid in the small intestine, bugs start to grow in there. And then you start to get small intestinal disorders. And now there's another big word. You'll be hearing a lot more about this soon. It's called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIO, small intestinal yeast overgrowth. And SIBO, S-E-S-I-B-O, SIBO. Anyway, so these are huge disorders that cause so much trouble with the digestive system. And so now you have an upset stomach from incorrect balance of the nutrients in there. And then you have the next stop is the small intestine, the duodenum, as well as the other two parts of the small intestine, where food is supposed to be dissolved and broken down in so that when you get into your large intestine, it can be expelled correctly. But since you now have a messed up small intestine, it starts to put in the wrong acid-base concentration in your large intestine. So now this becomes inflamed, and it's called IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, or Crohn's disease, or inflammatory bowel disease. Well, that's IBS. So, you start with GERD, then you get SIBO, then you get IBS, and it's all a bunch of BS. So, but if you're being treated for these conditions medically, you need to get in touch with your medical doctor and say, I want to do something to change my condition. So what do I need to do? How are you going to help me if I'm on these medications? What else can I do? But don't do it without them helping you, because some of the medications, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know what the side effects are trying to get off some of those are, but I do know that it's very important for you to start to be on the other side of the cause of your health. I started off the program talking about, what your circumstances are. You can change anything that you want to change. Our mind has this great ability to pose and solve problems. So give it good problems and allow it the due process of solving them. That's why you want to have your goals up on the board. That's a problem for your brain to solve. Think big. If you've got health issues, start to look at that as not just a condition that you have, but a condition that you're going to change, and you're going to get yourself educated on how to do that. Now, a lot of people don't have the time or wherewithal to do this. You're working too much. You've got kids at home, other family members that need your attention, and then what happens is your health goes down. So you need to understand that it may be important for you to carve out a little bit of time for yourself to change your health conditions. That's why getting a piece of paper and writing down, put a line down the middle. On the left is today, on the right is what you'd like to see happen in a week, a month, a year, 5 years, whatever you think is important for you. Some people can think, I need to do this for a day. If I could just get through the day, I would be happy without eating sugar or drinking soda pop or something along that line. Other people are, hey, I'd like to figure out how to do a fast for a day. I remember the first time I tried to fast, I was probably 60. I'd never missed a meal purposely that I could recall. And even the thought of doing a 24-hour fast to me was scary. I thought, who in their right mind would want to do this? But then we started looking at the results of doing such a thing. Your body spends 60 to 65% of its energy digesting food. So just imagine what happens when your body learns how to not have to consume 3 big meals a day. And where is that extra energy going to go? It's going to go towards your body healing itself, to your brain for new projects and goals that you want to do. There's so much more that energy could be used for other than digesting all of the food that we eat. And I mean all the food we eat, because we are the most obese country in the industrialized world. And, where was I the other day? Oh, I was at a coffee shop waiting for some coffee, and I looked around and I was astounded at the state of health of the 10 to 15 people that were in the coffee shop with me. And I just leave that to your imagination next time you're in a coffee shop or in a different gathering place. Just look around and rate the health potential of the people that you see. 10 being awesome, 1 being, not very good. And, maybe this isn't a really nice thing to do. What about those poor people in the walkers or, this or that? Well, I got it. I mean, I've been injured. I as a lot of you know, my appendix ruptured a year ago, November, and I was in the hospital for 5 days and would have died if it wasn't for Western medicine. I was first from age 12 to 28, I was in chronic, constant low back pain to varying degrees. Oftentimes I was not even able to walk or get up or feed myself. So I've been there, but I have been able to do some of the right moves so that I could actually improve my health. And yes, Dr. Wallach says, so many people are affected by gluten. And he's so right. It's the food, the gluten has been altered so much since 1970. There was a Dr. Blalock who won the Nobel Prize for his work on gluten or on wheat. He turned amber waves of grain into stubby stalks of wheat. But in doing so, he was hoping to stop world hunger, and he was in Mexico City at the time. In doing so, he created so many thousands of new glutens that our bodies could never adapt to over the evolution of time. How our bodies grow is the environment and the species mature or evolve together. So new foods that come into existence through droughts and fires and various other things create new foods, but the beings or the animals of that area learn gradually to adapt to those new foods and develop the correct enzymes, and also mainly the molds and bacterias which are needed in order to digest them. For instance, we have 100 billion microbiome in our gut. Without this microbiome, we couldn't digest anything. So those microbiome evolve with the foodstuffs. And when we have a good diet, we have a much healthier microbiome. When we have a bad diet, we get all kinds of terrible bugs that love to eat bad food and they crave them, like Seymour in Little House of Horrors, Little Shop of Horrors. So, we're getting to the end of the show here. I hope that I made a little bit of sense today. Sometimes I have a little bit more of an agenda. I told Dave Michaels when I came in, I'm not really sure what's going to come out of my mouth today. Oftentimes it's my better shows. It's just waiting for that divine intervention to come down and tell me what I need to say to one person out there. So if there's one person that this has made sense to today, then I'm very happy about that. And my shows are now on Monday, 2 to 3, as well as 1 to 2 on Saturday. You can find most of my shows on KSCO's website, on Dr. Duncan McCollum YouTube. Follow me there. All my shows are recorded, a video on there. You can go to McCollum Wellness Radio podcast. Any place you find podcasts. I have over 100 podcasts on there talking about this type of stuff. And I want to go out with the same thing I came in with. I can only do it for 30 seconds. So in just a minute, we're going to go out with Whip and Post by the Allman Brothers. And love you all. We'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.